So, a little bit about how we're going to do things today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Marquee 360, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Planner and the Planner Accelerator. Stella's going to give the demo, and then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. And although we'll have time at the end, please feel free throughout the presentation to put any questions in the chat or even unmute and ask your questions. We like an interactive audience and want this to be as helpful as possible for you all. So please just feel free to go ahead and ask any questions. Okay, so a little bit about Marquee 360. We are a Microsoft partner for project and portfolio management and also collaboration. And we work on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. And so what that means is any of your apps like Planner, Teams, or anything Power Platform related, that's where we excel in giving you applications to help minimize all of your manual processes and help your team focus on the work that really matters to you. Oh, go ahead. What? To dive a little bit deeper, Marquee 360 was actually founded by former Microsoft employees. So we have a really seasoned team with over 20 years of experience in the Microsoft project space. We've worked with everything from Project Server to Project Online, and more recently, Project for the Web and Planner. And what we do is we take the Microsoft suite and we enhance it. So we customize it to fit your specific needs, address any gaps or pain points, and automate functions to help your team grow and work more efficiently. So our core focus areas for success are innovation. We work side by side with Microsoft's technology team during their development process so that our customers get all those updates quickly and that we keep up with the technology that Microsoft is pushing out. Our huge focus is on the Power Platform, and that's where Microsoft is focusing a lot of their new technology and upgrades. And that just gives us that low code, no code platform where you all can take some development into your own hands and your internal teams and gives you some more power on that rather than having to rely on custom coding. We focus a lot on customer success. So we work very closely with your team during requirements gathering to make sure you're getting everything possible that you need, and also with post-implementation, hypercare, support, training, workshops, whatever your team needs to be as successful as possible. And now we're going to go a little bit into Microsoft Planner, which is Microsoft's newest product offering. Microsoft is investing a lot of research and development work into optimizing the work management experience. So previously we had To Do, a Planner, and Project for the Web as all separate solutions. And To Do, if you're not familiar, just gave you your own work to focus on, your own tasks in one place. And then you had Planner, which is great for collaboration. You could look at some plans, some buckets, and then had that Kanban board styling. And then there was Project for the Web, where you could do your assignments and some of those deeper project management features like task dependencies and things like that. But what Microsoft found is that it was hard for users to know which tool to use and why, and then upgrading from maybe Planner to Project for the Web was a little bit difficult. So what they did is they brought all those three tools together and called it the new Microsoft Planner. So all those things that you could do before, you can still do today, but just in one place. So you're not having to jump from To Do to Planner to Project for the Web. The new Planner will unify tasks, plans, and projects across the Microsoft ecosystem and integrate really nicely with the tools your team is already using, like Outlook, Teams, SharePoint, Power BI, and allows you to access your work from any device and work on both individual tasks and your enterprise work processes. And now I'll discuss what our focus will be today, which is PPM360, our accelerator for Microsoft Planner. So we really can take the Planner experience a step further The accelerator combines tools like Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI to deliver an end-to-end project solution. So while Planner offers basic task management, we come in and we enhance it with tools like an intake app, timesheets, budgets, and then we integrate everything with Teams so that you have seamless collaboration. And we use Power Automate to do some automated workflows and interactive dashboards and reports with Power BI to give you a nice clear view of all of your projects. And then everything we build is designed to work with Microsoft's Copilot that everyone is very interested in and that they're putting a lot of updates into right now. And this will just show some of those additional features that the accelerator can add to your Planner experience. While Microsoft is constantly adding enhancements to Planner, if you're managing a large PMO or have a lot of projects, a lot of resources, we built this power app called PPM360 to extend Planner a little bit closer to what you're used to with maybe Project Online if you're familiar. So we can add all those additional features into the Planner platform for you. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Stella for the demo.
Hi. So as mentioned, my name is Stella Salom. I am a solutions architect here at Marquee 360. Today, we're going to be walking through how to manage projects via our PPM 360 solution, which, as Charlene mentioned, is our Planner Accelerator. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So just a quick note, next week we are having a special planner training session. Erin will drop the registration link in the chat. And then if you would like a more detailed demo on anything we discussed today, you can reach out to Charlene, who will also drop her email in the chat. So starting from our PPM 360 homepage here, which is our Planner Accelerator, which acts as a one-stop location for all points in the project lifecycle. We can start from project intake here, also an area known for project requests. As we can see, this is a separate Canvas app embedded directly into the Power Platform, and it's an area where we can submit new project requests. So here on our gallery page, I can see projects that have been submitted, the project requests that have been submitted. I'm going to go ahead and submit a new request by selecting New from the top here. We'll go ahead and name this construction project Q1 2025. Now, everything we're seeing here is customizable down to request type as well. Project sponsor here is going to determine who the project manager will be in this case. So I'm going to put my name here. And then here we have just an example of a customizable field for location. We have an area to enter description of the project request. The problem statement can be entered here, and then the value as well. Once again, this form would be completely customizable to your requirements. We have a project details tab here where I can say the proposed start date of the project and the proposed end date. I can also say a proposed go live date as well, and a proposed budget, as well as benefits and some expected benefit information. We also have an area for scoring. This is a pretty basic scoring model here. Points add up for a priority score based on the value selected. But this is very customizable, so we can have one question, for example, weighted higher than the others, or multi-level scoring as well. We have an area for attachments as well. And now that I have finished my request, I'm going to go ahead and submit it. So now that I have submitted my request here, we can see the status is submitted. And what's happening is there's a workflow working in the background to send this request to a specific list of approvers, which I'm on the approval list. So the approvers are going to receive an email and Teams notification where they can approve the request directly from the email or Teams notification. And then we'll see that the status is going to update to approved. And then the second part of the workflow will initiate, which actually creates the project for us. Another great thing about this is that you actually can assign a specific project template to specific request types. So for example, if you want your users to start off with a specific schedule outline for specific project types, that project can be created with that schedule for management. In this case, we are using our standard schedule template since I selected standard project. And we are waiting on that request. So here's the email that the first one receives, who's the requester. So here we can see your request and the request name was submitted for approval, and you will be notified when the approval status changes. So this is the first part of the workflow, sends an email to the requester. The second part now is going to go to the approver. So we can see here that we received a request for approval and the requester by name here. Here I can click here and it'll take me directly to the request. And then there's also some information about the request, including the project description, proposed go live date, and this is completely customizable. So these notifications can include as much or as little information as you want from the project request. I also mentioned we received this via Teams notification. So we can see here, same kind of structure with the information and attachment as well. And then I can either approve from here or the email. If I approve from one place or the other, it'll make the other place null and void. So we're going to go ahead and approve from Teams notification. And it's submitting my response. And we can see final status has been updated to approved. So I can see this in my approvals area here as well. Now on this email here, we're going to see that this is going to say you have already completed this request through the Power Automate flow here. Now, this is another email in the workflow that the requester receives after approval, saying the request has been approved and the project will now be created. They can click here to view the request, and this will take them in a new window where we can see in a new window the full app here.
Hey, Stella, we have a question.
Yes.
Can you have multiple people as approvers?
Yes, absolutely. Our approval process is very sophisticated. So this actually runs on a SharePoint list, and we have a SharePoint list of approvers. So it's very simple to add new approvers to that list. And we can even make the approval process sequential, meaning it goes to a specific list of people in order, and one person has to approve before it moves to the next approver. Or alternatively, it can go to, let's say, all approvers at once, and every single person must approve before the project can get created, or only one. So it's completely based on the requirements. So we can see here in my workflow, it's been approved, and now we are in the create project process of the workflow. So what it's doing now is it's mapping over the fields that go into the new project created. And we can see here, now my project has been successfully created. And I now have this nice link here that I can click to access my project. Actually, once my project has been created, there's 3 ways that I can access my new project. From the gallery, using this link directly, you can see it'll take me to the project area directly within PPM360. And this is my new project that's been created. You can see the fields that mapped over, and we can have as many fields map over as we want, including project description. I'm also going to receive an email, the requester will, saying the project's been created with a hyperlink in the email as well. And then we can also just navigate to our projects here. And the default view is my active plans. So we'll see here that my new plan will automatically appear in my active plans area since I'm the project manager here. Now that we've created our project, let's go ahead and manage it. We are going to start with a summary page here where we can go and put some information such as linking it to another project in the system. Let's say this is a phase 2, for example. I can select business unit. And once again, everything we're seeing here is completely customizable. So choice values, we have options of, we have user lookup fields, which sync with your AD. So let's say I wanted to make Charlene the business sponsor. I would find her and assign her here. And then we can see that automatically when the project is approved, a Teams gets automatically created. We can see here that in this case, it's automatic, but this can act as a trigger to create a team for the project as well. We also have a planner sync option trigger here, which we're going to talk about. And we're about to navigate to our tasks tab. And we'll see that if I have my planner sync turned on, we're going to turn on to yes, that when I create a task and assign it to a user, they will receive that notification within their planner app here. And they'll see that under their My Tasks here, where they can manage the progress on the task. And it will read back to the schedule in my active projects. So moving to the Tasks tab here. I mentioned that there is a schedule template that we can apply for request type. So we can see here that this is my schedule template with these columns. Now I have many other Microsoft columns that I can add here, such as effort, effort completed, and effort remaining. My percent complete column, I'm going to drag over here. And I'm going to create my quick look column here, which shows me task details. So I can see, for example, this task here has a note associated with it. And if I click on it, I can see what the note is. Additionally, we can have checklist items for a task. So if I wanted to make some items here in my quick look column, it's going to tell me how many items I have and how many of those items have been completed. We can see here, I now have 2 out of the 3 completed for this. And if I want to add an attachment, I can do so down here as well. And that will add a little clip icon here to indicate there's an attachment for this task. If I want to insert a new task, I can do so by clicking here and selecting Insert Task above. And I can add my new task here. If I want to delete a task, I can do so by also clicking here and selecting Delete Task. Now we're going to see this new icon that pops up here, which is recently added. So for new tasks, if you want to undo something, there's not an actual undo button per se, but we can do Control V and undo my action that I just did, which was delete this task. I'm going to go ahead and delete this task again. Now I'm going to go ahead and assign this task to someone. I'm going to go ahead and assign this task to myself in this case. And I'm going to go ahead and start assigning tasks to other users. So I'll assign this one to Charlene. And when I assign her, it's going to ask me if I want to add her to the group that's created for this project or just add her to a task. So I'm going to go ahead and create and assign a group, and we can see here the group members. So alternatively, I can add someone to the group without assigning them a task. And I can also assign someone to a task without adding them to the group. Now I mentioned the planner sync is turned on and I've assigned myself a task. So I'm going to receive this notification here saying that I have been assigned to a task. Here's the task name and here's the plan name, Construction Project Q1 2025. Charlene has received the same type of notification and she'll see that there. I have the due date and the project. And we'll see that if I mark this progress as in progress, it's going to read back to my schedule as 50% complete. And completed will obviously read back as 100% complete.
Hey Stella,
Yeah.
we have another question. Can you pull tasks from an already created MS project?
Can you pull tasks? So you can import your MPP file into here, into this system, and it will actually create a new project when you do the import based on your tasks. Now, things for tasks that you have in MS projects, such as notes and other information, even custom fields, can carry in as well. But the one thing that's not carrying in right now is the task assignments. So if you have resources assigned in your MS project, those aren't going to carry in. You'll have to manually add those, but everything else should, and it will create a new project. Alternatively, we have the case a lot where someone comes in here, they've created a new project, but they want to apply an existing template. What I'd recommend doing in that case is collapsing all of your tasks here, and we can actually highlight these tasks like this. We can copy the task, and we can go directly into a new plan. So let's say this one, for example. So we'd come here, we would import it, we'd copy all of our tasks, we'd go where we want to paste them in our new plan, and we can paste the tasks directly here. So the answer to that is yes, there's two ways to go about doing it. Does that answer your question?
Uh, my question was more about in the existing plan that you already have in the task list, if I have a Microsoft project, so like going out to old school Microsoft project and importing those tasks in, is there a way to do it without creating a new plan in your already existing task list?
So unfortunately, there's not a way. So if I have this existing task list, I cannot, import from MS project into an existing project here. Unfortunately, it makes a new project automatically if I want to bring that task in. But like I said, the workaround on that would be that you'd essentially import that MS project that you had your plan in with your tasks that you want to use. It would create a new project, for example, like this, and then I could just copy all of the tasks. So copy task, and it would copy the dates, duration, all of that information, and then I would paste it into the project that's already been created here. So if you have an
Okay.
existing project in here, so that's the workaround, but unfortunately right now there's not that option of just automatically bringing them into an existing one. It has to create a new one.
Okay. And so I might have missed where you imported those tasks from Microsoft Project. Um, So like
Yeah,
again, going out to not the planner version of it, but into like old school Microsoft Project and grabbing.
yeah, absolutely. Like this, like project professional, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So
old
what we would do
school.
is yeah, old school. So we'd go to our plans area here, and from our active page here, we would select import, and I would select import from MPP. I would select the file, my MPP file. I actually don't have a go-to here, I believe, but you would select your file, and then you would select import, and then it would say your plan's being created, and once it's created, it would take you to that new plan.
Okay. And then in theory, once that new plan came in, could you just delete the old plan so that you don't have multiples?
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like I said, if you already have the plan created and you're wanting to copy the tasks over, then I would import it, copy the tasks into the existing plan, and then go and delete that imported plan. Or
Okay.
if you're okay with the imported one being the one you mainly manage, then obviously delete the other one. But yes, obviously we don't want two versions.
Got it. All right. Thanks so much.
Of course. So going back to our project here, construction. So we're going to see here, for those of you that are familiar with traditional planner here, that our tasks tab is going to look very similar, almost exactly like what a premium plan would look like, as you can see here. So we're going to have the same columns, the same ability to create custom columns as well. So this is the training that we'll be giving on next Tuesday. So just to touch on that. So, there we go. So I've assigned some tasks to some users here. And it looks like this task is on the 16th. I am going to go ahead and assign myself a task for this date. And now I'm going to create, let's say, a custom column. So let's say I need a column to track my tasks on if they're critical. I can create a new field here, and I can say I want it to be a choice field. And the question is critical task. Yes, no, not applicable. And I can even apply colors to these as well. So now it's going to add that custom column for me. We can create up to 15 of them. And then I can start saying if tasks are critical or not. Now in my task details, that new custom column is going to appear here at the bottom. Custom field critical, and I can change it from here as well too. Now let's say I decide I don't want this task to be assigned to Charlotte anymore. Or let's say that this was originally 8 hours, but it took Charlotte 12. She can come in here and change these hours or make a note or add it. Let's go ahead and change this assignment. Let's change it to air. Now, what's great about this is that we want to figure out what changes are in our schedule. So with task details here, by task, we can actually see our task history here, and it does a source of auditing. So we can see that several minutes ago, it was originally assigned to Charlene, and then it edited critical task for field no. We edited the effort was edited and who it was edited by. So myself here from 8 hours to 12 hours. We can see I removed the assignment from Charlene and assigned it to Aaron. As we can see here, this is all seconds ago. And of course, as the days go by, it gives me the date rather than how long ago it was. So this is a great way to track tasks that are changing, especially when you have multiple people with access to your schedule. Now we're going to go ahead and look at some of our different views. Our board view here. In our schedule template, these tasks are already assigned to specific boards. One great thing about boards is that they are reportable. So in a Power BI report, it's really easy to take this data and make a nice table that says, for example, show all the tasks in the planning board. And I can make those tasks appear on my report by dragging and dropping them into this board. I have a nice timeline view here as well, where I can automatically increase the duration of the tasks by dragging and dropping them, and dependencies as well. And I can also look at my critical path here as well. So I can see all the projects that are critical to my timeline outlined here. I can see the assignment of my tasks for each one here as well. And I can even directly add an additional person to tasks in this area as well. From my charts view, I have a nice little view of my statuses. So 91 tasks left, none of them are started. And here are the different buckets and how many tasks I have in each. And below here, I have effort per person. So most of my tasks are unassigned, but by hours here, I can see how many tasks are assigned currently to these users. I can also filter to show only specific tasks assigned to myself. So 2 tasks left. And these filters are applied to all views. In my people view here, same concept as the board view, I can drag and drop tasks to assign them to users. And as I add additional resources for my grid view, they'll appear here as well. We can see when I mark a task as complete, it puts it under this completed area. So it's important to note that when I'm dragging and dropping tasks, if I drop this task under here, it's going to mark it as completed as well. So I need to drag it above here if I want it to be not completed. I can see my tasks by number or by hours. And I can see in compact mode or not. So this gives me information, a lot of information about each task, and this one's compact. I can also hide completed tasks. from my view here, or I could show it. Now we have this goals area, which Microsoft created recently. And the purpose of it is to create goals and assign them to tasks. So for example, complete before deadline, say create this one. I can go back to my grid view, add that goals column that they have, and start assigning goals to tasks. I'll see those tasks appear here, and from here I can create new tasks directly as well. And this tells me the line that it is, so it created at the very bottom of my schedule. Now, perhaps my favorite view that we're going to see here is the assignments view. And what's great about the assignments view is that, especially for tasks where you have multiple resources assigned, we can break these hours out more granular level. Something that I want to note here is that we can see here based on our calendar that it's not going to allow me to schedule weekend days for users. As we can see here for myself, I also have the 17th and the 21st blocked. Now, the reason why that is because there is a great area in PPM360 where we can make specific notes or days off for resources. And this prevents people from scheduling tasks for that resource on that day. We do that in our resources area here. So if you go to resources and you go to the resource name and go to the work hour screen here, we can see that I have non-working the full day on the 17th and time off scheduled on the 21st. So because I have these two, we can see in my schedule that on the 17th, I can't be scheduled any tasks, nor on the 21st. This can be customized as well based on your company's holiday schedule and time off. So for example, next week we have Martin Luther King Day. If your whole company has that off, we can configure in the template to automatically apply that day off for everyone. Now I mentioned for resources, tasks that have multiple resources assigned, such as this one here, it automatically gave 8 hours to each task, each person. But let's say that because I'm going to be out this day, I'm going to do all 8 hours this day, but Charlene might want to spread them out across 2 days. So I can change the days here to 4, and I can even add additional time for her here as well, and it will increase the date of my task here. So now we can see that for this task, it's a 24-hour task with 8 hours assigned to Stella and 16 assigned to Charlene. Now, the great thing about our Planner Accelerator is the different areas for project management. For example, if we wanted to manage project summary information, we can do so from the summary tab here, as I mentioned. And we also have an area for program and portfolios. So I can assign this to a specific program. So this is going to look up to existing programs which live in this area here. Let's go ahead and take a look at our programs page here. So I have these different programs with, for example, this one has 14 projects assigned to this program, as we can see here. So if I want to add my project to this program, I would come here and I can hit enter and search for it, and I can assign this project to this program. Now we're going to see here, when we refresh. We're going to see that that project is going to be added to this program. Now, we're also going to see here that we have an area for portfolios. So I can also assign it to a portfolio. And from the portfolios area here, from the left-hand nav, I also can manage portfolios. Now, an important question that you might ask is, what is the difference between a portfolio and program? So typically the difference is that projects within the same program can typically share resources, and projects within the same portfolio are typically tracked on more of a fiscal level and may or may not be able to share resources. We also have an area for project charter here where we can see our fields mapped over from the request. We can have as many fields map over to the new project, and my score here as well. I have an area for us to create some weekly or monthly status reports. So I can see this health right now is overall on track. So I can create a new status report here and say this is going to be weekly status report number 0. And I'm going to say I'm the submitter. Reporting date is today. And I'm going to submit this to Charlotte. Say the overall health is on track. Budget health is at risk. Schedule is on track. And scope is on track as well. Some recent accomplishments, I'm going to say kickoff meeting has been completed and resources been assigned. Next steps, I'll say design phase, implementation, and an area for additional comments as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and save and close my project, my status report here. And we're going to see that when I refresh, my statuses for the project here are going to resemble the statuses from my most recent status report. Towards the end, we'll take a look at our Power BI reports and see that we have a really nice status report that pulls the data from everything in PPM360 and the areas from the most recent report here, as well as the statuses here. Now, something I want to highlight here is audit history, which is very important for companies. So let's say that I come in here and I rename this report. Let's say after it's been submitted, I change who it's been submitted to Erin. I changed resource health to critical. And let's say I add some text here. In this related area, we have a nice area for audit history, and it's going to give us a nice table. And this audit history can be turned on for any tables here in our PPM360 solution. So we can see here the change date. So this was created, date and time, the user who changed it, the field, the old value, and the new value. So we can see here, I renamed my report. I changed resource health from on track to critical. I changed submitted to from Charlene to Erin. And then here in this area, we can see the starting points, each one that I did in order and what the initial ones were. This audit history table can be exported via CSV or any other format that you wish as well via Flow. Here we also have an area for financials, which is very, very customizable and could include advanced formulas. We can see here that as I enter my actual cost, we're going to see that when I save, it's going to update my remaining budget. And as I enter my forecast here, it's going to give me my budget variance. Now in my resources tab, we're going to see here resources as they're assigned to tasks. So we can see here that I've assigned some tasks to these resources. So they appear in my resources table, the start and finish date. So the start date of the first task they're assigned, the finish date of the last, the total amount of effort hours, how many they've completed, and how many are remaining. Now let's say Charlene is actually, so it shows resource manager for Erin because that's her default role in the system. But let's say that Erin's actually going to be playing a different role in my project. What's great about this is I can come in here and I can change her role to, let's say, a civil engineer on this project. Now we can see it updates hers here. We also have an engagements table to see how engaged resources are. So you can see here, January, she's going to be 0.10 engaged on this project. And I can change this as well, even if they're not assigned to tasks. Now, I also want to highlight really quickly the business process flow here at the top, which is once again very customizable, and it can be customizable by request type or project type. So right now I'm in initiation, so we can make as many questions here as we want. So the user has to answer initiation deliverables complete. I say yes, move to the next stage, and it's going to send to an approver for approval. And once again, this can be through Teams and email notification. And I have to wait for the approver to approve this before it changes to approved. This tracks the active stage of the project, which also can be displayed here on the report. So while I wait for that approval, I'm going to go ahead and move on to my risks tab, which is another critical area of project management. And we're going to create a new risk. Once again, everything we're seeing here is very customizable. And there's that notification that I mentioned here. So it's submitted for initiation gate approval. I'm going to go ahead and approve. And we're going to see that in my project, this has been signed off and I'm now in the planning phase. So let's create a new risk. Let's say there's been a COVID outbreak and this is active. I'm going to assign it to myself, or in this case, since it's going to affect my resources, I would assign it to maybe a resource manager. I would say this could affect my resources because I have resources that are sick or therefore impacting my schedule. This can be a multi-select field. So if it is two different categories, you can add both here as well. And I can say it's due next week. But the probability is pretty high because a lot of people are out. Impact is on a scale from 1 to 10. That range can also be editable. But in this case, I'm going to say impact is about 7. And I'm going to say my cost to back to my schedule is 12,500. When I save, it's going to give me the exposure, which is this times this, and my cost exposure is exposure times cost. Here I can give a description and say 75% of my resources are out sick. This will delay our schedule. Mitigation plan, working with resource manager to find available resources. And contingency plan, delay in schedule discussed with customer. Once again, here we have an audit history area as well. So as risks develop, we can see the development of those risks. Now at the very bottom too, we can see here an area for system information, who it was created by, who it was last modified by, and the date and time. When I save and close, I'm going to see this is added to my risks table where I can manage it, open it, activate it, or deactivate it. Similarly, I have an area for issues as well here too. So we can create a new issue. Thanks, Tiago. Have a nice day. So we can say supply issue. And we can say technically supplies our resources, or we could say other here. Requester, I'm going to put myself. And we see here that there's some in-app notifications about that risk. When I'm assigned a risk, I get an in-app notification here too. I'm going to go ahead and assign this to Charlene actually. I'm going to say the priority is critical and it is due next week. So I can say supplies are delayed, which will delay our schedule. Gathering supplies from another vendor. Save and close, and we can see this is added here as well. Now, similarly, we can do the same thing for changes. And once again, these forms are completely editable. So if you're not seeing a field here that tracks what you need to track for your changes, issues, or risks, then we can completely add those as well. So here's my change form. I'd fill this out. And we can also send changes for approval as well by using trigger. So we can say requested, so it'll send for request. And similarly to the business process flow and our intake approval, we can send approvals via email and they can go to multiple approvers or just one as well. We have similar tables for decisions and lessons learned as well, which are custom tables. And custom tables can be created and modified for any category outside of what we're seeing here today. So as I mentioned here on the summary tab, the program portfolio, we'll take a quick look at our program here. You can see our projects where I send construction here. So I have a nice general overview of my program information. completely customizable as well. The status that can be managed with a count of how many projects in here I have, how many of those have an overall health on track, and how many have an overall health at risk or in trouble, which is that red critical. Financials is going to give me a nice little roll up of all of the project's budgets, actual costs, project remaining benefits. So for example, if I say the budget for this program is 10 million, I'm very well within the budget with all the projects I currently have in here. But once I start getting closer, that's when I would need to analyze which projects may need to decrease their budgets. And then of course on my projects, I can see all the projects that live within this program. And so if I'm a program manager, I can see here, this one has an overall health of critical. So I want to dive in more into this and see what's going on and how I as a PMO can help with this project more. Similarly, we have portfolios. And I believe I assigned that project to this portfolio here. So once again, we have some general information, completely customizable as well. Roll up of our portfolio financials. In an area where we can see all the projects here as well. So there's that project, our construction project that we assigned here. And this view is good to put the most critical fields from the project as well. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have an entire area for resource management within PPM360. I'm going to go ahead and lightly touch on that before transitioning into Power BI reports. So we can see here in our resource pool area, I have the name of resources, resource type, their default utilization, and their resource capacity that they have. So let's go ahead and look at myself. So we can see here that my resource capacity is 0.5. So I'm available for project time, half of my time, and my default utilization is to utilize 100% of that time. So in a week, this would be about 20 hours. We also have additional custom fields such as resource rate, which you can choose to have or not. And then we have a project service area, which I mentioned earlier. This is where you can assign roles to people. So I have my default role here as solutions architect. And then I also have added some other roles for myself, such as project manager. This work hours area is where I mentioned we can assign time off. So if I don't want anyone to be able to assign tasks to me, I'll click on the date. So let's say I'm going to be out of town next Friday. Click on here, select new event, and I can do non-working time or time off. It blocks the schedule in the same way, but your company may utilize them in different ways. So non-working may mean that I'm working not on project work or dedicated to another task. Time off usually indicates I'm completely out of the office. So I'm going to go ahead and put time off. I can choose all day, and I can extend the day span as well. So let's say I'm coming back on Tuesday, and I can say PTO and save. Now we can see here that I may already be scheduled for events on these days. So I'm going to go, and there might be potential conflicts. So do I want to proceed? Yes. What that's going to do, it's now going to update all of those schedules where there's conflicts. And let's say I have a task assigned to me to the 27th. It's going to push that finish date from the 27th to the 28th. So even though the start date is the 27th, it's now going to increase it to the next day that I'm actually available to finish the task. Any questions so far? Okay, awesome. So here in our roles area, this is where we can create new roles here. We can create generic roles and assign them to users. We have an area for skills, less commonly used, but we can, let's say, assign characteristics to people. And then here's our area for resource capacity. So I can see here for this user by year. I can change this here as well. And then I can see engagements by project as well. So I can see here if I search for myself, here's me, the resource, the projects that I'm on, the year, and how many hours I'm engaged in those. So for example, for this project here in 2023, I was on this project half of the time for October, November, and December. So there's roughly 160 work hours in a week. So we can assume that I spent about 80 hours of my time these months on this project. Now transitioning over to our reports. I mentioned our nice status report that we have earlier. So this is going to show us our schedule information here, percent complete. Some critical information from our summary tab here, as well as some summary information here as well from financials too. The number of active issues, active risks, and active changes. Now, the reason why it's not counting this risk is because it's not considered active. It's considered a state of proposed. And then I have my changes table and project issues. Let's say I want to dive deeper into one of these changes or issues. I can use this link to open it directly in PPM360 and find out some more information about this issue. This report is really great for weekly or monthly status reports that you need to share with PMOs. We also dove into some risks, and I can see here my risks dashboard report, risks across all projects in the system. And I can filter by project manager. So if I want to say, show me all risks across projects that I'm the project manager of, I can see these are all the risks, 32 that I'm currently managing. We also have some portfolio reports here. So I can filter by portfolio right here, and it'll show me all the projects in that portfolio and the statuses of them as well. In our requirements phase, we do have time to modify these reports based on what fields you choose to use in your creation of your PPM360 environment. And then lastly, we have some of these really nice resource reports as well that I wanted to highlight. So this will show availability based on engagements, assignments, so we can see who's over allocated, who's under allocated, and who has the availability to do more work. We also have this resource assignments view, which is really nice because we can see here my name, the projects that I'm on, and the specific tasks, and the status of those tasks as well. So this report is very useful for resources themselves, resource managers, and PMOs as well. Just wanted to once again mention that next week we have that special planner training session where we'll be diving more into how to create plans in Planner here and how to manage basic plans, premium plans, and the My Portfolios in Planner as well. And then also for more detailed demo, please reach out to Charlene, who can drop her email in the chat as well.
I'll send out a recording of the demo to everyone after this, and then drop my email in the chat if anyone has any additional questions or wants to schedule a one-on-one demo for your team. Feel free to reach out to me. And then Erin just dropped a survey in the chat as well. If you guys have any time to complete it, that'd be really great. But thanks everyone for joining us today.